Hi, everybody, and welcome. We have today reached the very end of Customer Service Week, almost. And we are super excited for another fabulous session today. And today you have the treat of hearing from some of our amazing award winners. We couldn't have Customer Service Week without finishing it with all of our customer experience champions from across the country in 2024. So super excited for today's session. This week has been incredibly exciting. And, I was saying to these guys earlier, we hear so much in the media about where we are not getting it right with customer service and where there's dissatisfaction and the rest of it. But I think Customer Service Week is all about showcasing the amazing things that are happening in our environment. And the people on your screen right now are absolutely living and breathing that customer excellence when it comes to making a difference, not just for the customer experience, but for the way people view your different organisations. So super excited about that today. The session itself will run for about 60 minutes, and it's going to be a bit of a rapid fire session where it could go absolutely anywhere. Sorry, panel. But for me, it's an opportunity to get some insights and hear a little bit more about, what pushes these guys to go above and beyond and constantly look for ways to solve challenges for customers every time they're interacting. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Auscontact acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. As I said, the session today will go for about 60 minutes. We're more than happy for you to throw some chats or comments or anything into the chat or QA feature as we go. If there's anything particular you want me to ask, let me have it. But the session itself is just an opportunity to showcase some of the amazing things happening. As you would all know by now, if you're having any technical issues, please just raise your hand and one of the Auscontact team will try and jump in and help. Alternatively, there is a way you can jump in and utilise the dial-in numbers that would have been in your original email. That you can actually just jump in via there. I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to let you get into it. Most of you would know I'm Fran Southwood, CEO of Auscontact and your moderator today. We are joined, as I said, by a really amazing panel. This year the calibre that we saw at our awards was stronger, and I think I said every year it's getting harder and harder for our poor old judges to determine winners across multiple categories. But here they all are. We've got Madeline Kelly from City of Stirling, our WA winner. We've got Benjamin Dawes from Allianz Australia from down in Adelaide. We've got Laura Saven from Bank of Queensland Group. That's Laura in Victoria. We've got Rebecca Allen from Honey Insurance in New South Wales. And last but certainly not least, we have Lauren Beam from Auto and General Holdings up here in Queensland. Now, Customer Experience Champion incorporates a whole lot of roles. It can in fact be any role. And it really celebrates any role and the impact they're having on their customers. Again, we've been lucky enough to see people in roles ranging from frontline agents servicing customers through various channels, right through to people doing design work or program work, team leaders, etc. So there's no limit and there's no qualification around when it is or what role you're in that you can actually start having an impact on customers. And what we love seeing is the richness that every role brings and can contribute. So I'm going to kick it off by trying to get a bit of insight from all of our winners as to, what is it that, they actually do and what is it that drives them to constantly be looking to make a difference for customers. And I'm going to randomly pick you, Beck, to start with because you are on the left side of my screen. But if you want to give us a quick two, like 2 sentence line about what's your role at Honey, and what is it that drives you to make it that every time you are looking for opportunities to change and enhance that customer experience?
Yeah, so my role at Honey is the head of optimization. So that's looking at our processes and what we are doing for our customers and seeing if there's any way that we can make that better. I think one, the main reason I'm always looking for opportunity is that is the role, that is what I'm passionate about, and that's why I looked to join the Honey team and jump into a position like this. But also, I always think back to those moments in my life and like, what would I need when I first bought a car or when I first bought my house? And, how do we support customers through that journey in life? And not only sort of where I'm up to now, but how do I want my grandmother to be treated or my mother to be treated? So things like that and making sure that people are supported at every stage of life and through their entire insurance journey is just so important.
Love that. And I'm with you. If you can actually picture how it impacts, your family or, your close friends, it definitely puts a different lens to what you want to drive from that experience. Madeline, I'm going to throw over to you now. Tell us a little bit about your role, and what drives you to always look to do your very best when it comes to customer experience.
Hiya, Fran. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely can.
So good, glad to hear it. So I work for the City of Stirling, which is a local council here in our area. It's actually quite like one of the largest ones. And my role specifically is Senior Customer Experience Officer. So I started out about a year ago on the front lines, and now I work with our management and also our service improvement team to really do some fantastic things for our customers here. At the City of Stirling, people don't engage with us because they want to. They realistically have to. They were in a lot of situations. You can't choose, who collects your bins. You can't choose who your well, you can choose who councillors are if you vote. But for us, a lot of our customers interact with us because they need to, that means that accessibility is a really big factor in a lot of stuff we do. And for me, that really drives a lot of the changes that I want to implement and the work that we do to ensure that everybody in our community can have access to the services that they need.
Love that. And you're right. I think it's interesting when you work for an organisation, and there's a lot of them, right, that actually customers don't have a choice. Sometimes that can make people be a bit complacent in that, well, they've got nowhere else to go. So, it can be kind of ho-hum service. But I love the fact that actually you think the opposite. They have to come to us, so let's make their experience with us amazing. And local government can be challenging. There's a lot of things that annoy people. One of them is not having those bins taken. But often it's those small things that can really have an impact on how people live within communities. So love that. Lauren, auto in general, I know you have a different type of role as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. So we deal with, I'm the technical manager of the high care team. So we're a recently formed team, just 12 months old. And we were created out of the need to respond better to vulnerable customers and those that are experiencing traumatic circumstances, such as, maybe a claim where they've ended up severely injured, something like that. We are there to make sure that those claims that, when 90% of claims go through end to end, not a problem, quite easy and simple, where that 10% that need that extra bit of care, that extra bit of focus, and essentially also that end-to-end experience. We're one of the first teams to provide a service where we go right from lodgement right through to the finalisation of the claim, and we don't hand any of that off to any other areas. And obviously that ensures to make sure they get a great experience throughout.
Yeah, look, it's challenging. We're certainly seeing the number of vulnerable customers kind of increase. And we had a session yesterday with our partners at eMatrix, and we were talking about, who determines who's vulnerable. So the stuff you're dealing with is often really emotional and can be, particularly challenging for customers to navigate. So definitely a different lens when you're thinking about the customer experience and the customer service that you have to provide. Ben, I think you have the hardest job in the world. You're dealing with people all day, every day. Tell us a little bit about what pushes you to, go that extra mile? A little bit about your role at Allianz.
Yeah, so I am a customer service specialist. I'm on the front line. I work for Allianz Insurance, one of the biggest insurance brands in the world. And yeah, with insurance, we're not selling luxury items. No one really wants to have to pay for their insurance, but you've got to protect your assets, obviously, when things do go wrong. And I guess, it can be hard selling a product that no one particularly wants to buy. But I guess I'm just deeply passionate about delivering exceptional customer service, and I'm really eager to help others achieve the same standard as well. I think, we're all human, and we've all been on the other end being customers ourselves in whatever it is that we may be purchasing or receiving a service from. And I guess I understand the importance of feeling valued and appreciated in every interaction. So I think it's essential to convey this sentiment to our customers, whilst obviously also adhering to our compliance procedures to not only protect the customer, but to protect the company as well. And yeah, so previously I've also done learning and coaching as well. So I've really enjoyed mentoring and coaching other agents in my space. It's also really rewarding to see agents develop their own skills and confidence, and hopefully I can create future customer experience champions as well that might potentially win this award in the future, making them realize that even though they are on the front line, they can still make change. Every little voice helps. So you got down from the, where I remember the CEO, we're all in this together, we're all cogs in the machine. We've all got the customer at the forefront, and as long as you've got that in your head, I think anything's possible.
Love that.
I'm here with all of these amazing people as well. So it's great.
Definitely. Thanks, Ben. And I agree. I think, you can make a difference in every single role, but probably where you have the most impact on customer is actually, helping them and supporting them. And like I said before, we often hear the negative side of some of those aspects across all verticals and, sort of all organisations. And what I have loved seeing this year is the amount of skill and passion to actually make a difference for customers that shone right through. Laura, tell us a little bit about your role at BOQ Group.
Hey, Fran and everyone. I'm a support use specialist at the BOQ Group. I've done multiple things over the last year or so at the BOQ Group, but my main current role is assisting customers with general inquiries and also the agents, so the frontline staff. Whenever they get stuck or need help, I'm always the go-to, and I absolutely love what I do. But with my role, I always put myself kind of in the customer's shoes. And I, like Beck, I also think about how, I would want my close ones, especially my grandparents, to be treated when they call through to the bank as well. And banking is such a personal and vulnerable thing for everyone. Money, we need it for everything, to exist, to live. And I think it's really important when people call the bank that they call through to a human who demonstrates, empathy, and that they feel like they actually care and actually like someone's listening to them. So I always try and push that for, customers and for agents as well, and assist them in ensuring they have the right tools and resources, in order to do that for customers.
You touched on something there about, applying that empathy, but knowing that customers just want to be heard and feel valued.
Yes.
And it's not rocket science, right? We are all customers, as many of you have said. And if you just think about what you expect in your interactions with, regardless of who the organisation is, but actually all you want is, well, we all want a slightly different thing, but at its heart, you want to be heard, you want to be respected, and actually you want your problem resolved, whatever it is, or your thing. You want it sorted, because I don't know about you guys, but I never generally think that anyone wakes up first thing in the morning and thinks, I am really excited about ringing organisation X today. It's not something that people aspire to, and generally speaking, it's because they need to. So, all of you have touched on the fact that, when you are dealing with, whether it's designing, talking to customer, supporting others, what you're thinking about is how do we actually tailor the interaction to solve whatever the challenge is for that individual. I love that. Beck, I'm going to pick on you again. Can you tell us a little bit about your role in helping to design for this? So, you're not directly on the front line, but your experience has led you to a position where, you're really good at identifying problems within that or opportunities to enhance that experience. How do you go about, number one, identifying it? Is it, through the work that you do with others when you identify those opportunities? And B, how do you influence and get traction within Honey to make change happen?
Yeah, so I think there's a number of channels that you can sort of look at to understand where opportunities lie. Obviously, there's your standard complaints and NPS channels, which are pretty standard. We also engage directly with our frontline staff because they're firsthand hearing the frustrations or the sentiment on the phone. We also look at, basic things like AHT. If we're seeing certain call types are having a higher AHT than others across different brands or whatever that may be, it could indicate that there's an opportunity within that specific space to dive into and understand a little bit more about. So that's some of the basics, but I think unstructured data is an untapped resource. So thinking about call transcripts, or, we sort of look at customer sentiment at a high level through our telephony platform, but when we're seeing that negative sentiment, we need to dig in and get to know things a little bit better. So they're kind of the main areas that I like to explore. I also do a lot of side by side with our teams as well to try to understand opportunities firsthand and hear what our customers are saying. From there, it's really my role to bridge the gap between our frontline teams and our technology teams to see what we can do to make things better. I have these grand ideas, and I think everyone at Honey can sort of understand that I have this laundry list of things that I would love to implement. But obviously, sometimes we have to implement things that we have access to quite quickly. So really challenging what we can do with what we have, while also sort of being a champion and exploring what we can do to offer better services going forward.
Yeah, no, that's all makes sense. If you all think about your experience that's led you to the roles you're in now, right? So you've done different things, you've, worked potentially for different organizations. What is it about customer service that you love? And I'm going to start with you, Lauren. What do you love about customer service?
I love a few things. Probably if I reflect on this current role, I think the thing I love about this particular version of customer service is that although we're dealing with a bespoke set of customers that require that extra care, the impact that we're making, I think, has probably been the most rewarding in my career, because they do need extra help. And what we have done through the organization is they've embraced that we needed to do something differently. So I actually think that what's happened is, although we have a particular set of processes that we do in our team for our set of customers, I hope and I know that that's potentially making bigger change across the entire organization for everybody. So even though maybe we have our 200 claims a month and that's what we do, I would hope that that would translate along the way to being 20,000 claims a month, and that some of what we do might make a bigger impact. So that's probably my big share at this point.
Love that. Madeline, what about you? What do you love about customer service and, all that it brings? As like the good stuff and the bad stuff, right? Sometimes it's a bit of both.
Gosh, I think there's nothing that challenges you more than really being exposed to customers every day, because everybody is so individual and has their own specific challenges that no two people are going to see the same problem the same way. And so I think when I was dealing in previous roles, a lot of data's very specific, and it's particular, but people are so much more complex than that. And it opens, just customer service opens my eyes to the beauty in the world every day, but also the terrible, awful things, and being able to use that to be a part of making things better for everybody is so rewarding. And it can be little things and it can be big things, but customer service, I think, like no other industry, allows us to do that in a way that, like no other industry can. So, and I think a big part of being specifically within customer service in a much broader organization is that initially, at least when I started in the role, a lot of business units or parts of the organization think that customer service starts and ends with the customer service team, but we can bring that to everybody. It definitely doesn't. And getting to bring those opportunities across the board improves things for everybody, including the employees as well as our customers. So yeah, customer service, I think, is challenging and rewarding in such complex ways. And that's why I love it so much.
No, I love that. Laura, what about you? You'd see some challenges in your environment. But again, what makes you come back the next day with a big smile on your face and think, I'm going to make a difference today?
Yes, for sure. I absolutely love, like, when I was on the phones, I was on the phones for almost a year, and I absolutely loved it. Like, love being personable with people. I think that really makes, everyone stand out. I feel like, when you call the bank, you don't want to call through to kind of a robot, someone who is just, just isn't personable. You want to sometimes have a laugh or have a joke, or how was your weekend, or have a lovely weekend. You got any plans for the weekend? I think just being personable and actually forming a rapport with people as well, and customers, and they call back again and you get the same customer and you're like, oh my goodness, hey, how are you going? I just find it so rewarding and so motivating as well by actually helping people. Like, I've always loved helping people, resolving their query, and making people that little bit less stressed. As we all know, I'm sure, money is such a stressful thing, especially in this day and age. So by customers calling through and by me trying to be personable and just putting a smile on their face just makes me so happy, so rewarding, and so motivating.
It's amazing how contagious it is too, isn't it? When you're, what do they say? You can feel a smile through the phone. You definitely can.
Yeah.
And what about you? How do you stay motivated? Again, we've heard from everybody. What do you love about customer service?
Yeah, similar to everyone else, it really is like the
Oh,
opportunity
I think your audio's messing up a bit there, Ben. Or is it just me, guys? No. Might have to come back to you. Maybe swap it to no headset. Oh, hang on. Go again.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yep, that's better. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, similar to others, I think it really is just the opportunity to be able to connect with people and make a positive impact on their day. I really enjoy solving problems and finding solutions that meet their needs. Every interaction is, unique, which keeps things interesting and allows me to learn continuously as well. It really is fulfilling to create a supportive environment where customers feel heard and valued. And, the people have mentioned before, speaking, that one of their brands to be treated, and I was just sort of my elderly, she
Audio's gone again on us. Not sure what's happening there.
Sorry. Should I try and just take it off? Or?
Yeah, try and take your headset off and just use normal. We'll come back while you have a fiddle with that. Okay, hopefully we get that one resolved again soon. If you think about some of the challenges that exist in customer service, and I think I know a couple of you touched on the fact that it doesn't always start and stop, whether it's the contact center or whatever channel you're actually interacting with. I always say contact centers don't actually drive their own work. It's not your actions that actually generate the work that you resolve. And yet a lot of people feel as though, you sometimes see this perceived pecking order in organizations that people will think, oh, well, I'll come in and I'll start in the contact center and that's my foot in the door. And then I'll go off and I'll have this amazing career that's not there. Out of you, who sort of looked as the contact center or the service delivery part of your environment as a starting point and kind of fell in love with it and you're still there now? Has that been the experience of any of you? Beck, Maddie's nodding ahead, Lauren. It's amazing how many people do that, right? So, Lauren, if I can start with you, your role now, obviously leading a group of people who are really sort of dealing with that challenging part of your customer group. You come in, you start, you think, right, this is a great way to get into an organization. I probably won't stay here for long. That's what I hear all the time. I just came to stay for a year and here I am 10 years later, whatever. Was that your experience? You sort of came in thinking, I'll just start here. And then what happened? You realized you were great at it. What was the thing that kept you in?
Yeah, there was a few things. So I've been lucky enough to obviously obtain a job in a contact center on the sunny Sunshine Coast, and it's close to home and it's great work-life balance. And then when I started in motor claims, I absolutely loved it. I was lucky enough after 2 years to go into leadership, and I stayed doing that for about 5 years. I then sort of hit the ceiling and thought, oh, you know, do I change or do I continue on and try something new? And I did, and I moved into a different technical role. And then I probably got to a point where I thought, now I'm sort of 7, 8 years in, I probably want to make more of a difference, even though I felt like I was on the phones, but more of a difference. And then that's where this technical manager role came up. And since then, the role has absolutely exploded. Like the last 12 months has felt just amazing. I've become a conduit between some of the change that's coming down the pipeline from upper management. The investment and the buy-in to support those vulnerable customers has been amazing. But probably more importantly than that, being able to be the manager of a group of people who blow me away every day, you know, investing in their self-care. So I sort of feel like I get the bonus of being able to look after the customers and them. And it's incredibly rewarding. And that's why I'm still here, and I love it.
Love that. Beck, you said yes. Tell us about your journey. You sort of came in thinking this was just a starting off, or what?
Look, to be honest, I joined a contact center in a bank because that's where my dad worked, and I didn't want to go to uni anymore. So it was very much an escape from
a good fallback plan,
pressure.
right?
Absolutely. And once I got there and sort of saw the difference that you can make, and you know, the conversations that you can have, and how you can turn someone from being really stressed or really upset into, you know, feeling a lot more confident in what they're sort of talking about or why they called. It just makes you feel good about yourself, and you constantly want that high. So taking 50 to 60 calls a day, although sometimes is very challenging, is also very rewarding.
So if you think about that, how do you use that in your experience to inspire others that are, you know, similar to you, just starting through? Do you share some of those insights with them? How do you connect that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to have regular conversations with our frontline and sort of pick their brains. I'll regularly sit next to one and just say, hey, let's talk about what you're seeing and what the challenges are, and how your customers are feeling. And then I kind of leverage my experience to try to give them insight if they're having a tough day, or if they're feeling maybe a little bit stressed by some of the conversations that they're having. Insurance pricing is very tough at the moment, so constantly talking to people who are maybe experiencing financial hardship can be challenging. But just sort of providing them with guidance around context and what customers might need during those conversations helps them get through. And our team does such an amazing job.
Yeah, it's good to see. But you're right, you know, the external environment has such an impact on the things that your frontline staff have to go through. We've got a few here that can attest to that. Laura and Ben, I'm going to ask you, if you think about how you approach your roles, right? So, you know, your attitude, everything that comes with it, and even just talking to you here, we can tell, right, that actually the way you approach it is going to have an impact on others. How do others in your team and environment respond? Like, what difference does it make having the right attitude, the right approach when you are doing roles that can be challenging? What do you see as a result of that with your teammates and others across the organisation, within your business group? How do they respond to it?
Who
Laura,
goes
we'll
first?
start.
Okay.
Sorry.
I feel like it's like, I think my positivity and everything is quite motivating for other people. I've seen other people go that extra mile, like, because someone else is. So then when someone else notices something positive and it's actually has got a positive experience, and you see how rewarding I find my job, that kind of rubs off, I think, on other people as well, and makes other people want to do better and go that extra mile. It really makes a difference. And knowing that someone can, obviously my job can be really challenging. I think any frontline job can be challenging, right? Especially when dealing with such customers all the time, constantly, you know, it can be really challenging. But having a positive mindset and knowing that not every day is the same, every customer is different. At the end of the day, they just want their query resolved. That's why they're calling through. They just want some help, and, you know, we're there to help them. And yeah.
No, I can definitely tell. What about you, Ben? Same deal? Positive impact on the rest of the team?
Yeah, can you hear me okay now?
No, super, super, what would be the word I use? It's staticky almost.
Is that better?
That is much better.
That is much better. Okay, sorry. Um, yeah, I mean, because I'm one of the more experienced consultants in my team, we're all web-based rather than over the phone. So we do a lot of interactions online. And I think, when other consultants come to me and they're like, oh, this customer's being really, difficult, that there was like an elderly customer who unfortunately wasn't aware of how to, upload or scan documents in order to be able to send them to us. And she's like, oh, I just don't know how else to get her to how to help this customer, get these documents to us. I'm like, why don't you think about, there are services that they can go to get these documents to us. I used to work in Officeworks in the print and copy department. I'm like, why don't you let her know where the nearest Officeworks is that she can go to? You got her address in front of you. Just pull it up, put the postcode in the Officeworks website, let her know where the nearest Officeworks is to go to, and they'll be able to help her get those documents to you. And they're like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Why didn't I, think of that type of thing? So, even though, sometimes, if you don't think that they're being difficult, they're from a different generation. We grew up with technology, they didn't. You got to think, as everyone said, my grandparents, how would I want my grandparents to be assisted with? And you got to think of it in that sort of way, I guess. So yeah, it's always just trying to turn something that's happening negatively and turn it into a positive and create a solution for them. And I find that they think, oh wow, I didn't think of it like that. That really helps.
Definitely, to me, and I've certainly said it in different environments, that positivity and that curiosity, I guess, like looking for solutions, is so contagious, right? So it doesn't actually help to, we would have all been around those environments where everyone jumps on that negative train, oh yeah, woe is me, and yeah, this is hard and this is tough. It just makes you feel horrible. It's the most disengaging environment. Certainly for me, I'd be like, I'm out of here. But the difference it makes when you have that positive contributor that, number one, other people see, so they react in a really similar way. As I said, it's super contagious positivity. But equally, when you provide suggestions or ideas or, similar to what you've just described, Ben, it makes other people think the same sort of out of the box thinking. And it's never about, needing it to be big, to be effective opportunities to actually make a difference within that customer experience landscape. A lot of the times it's the little things that makes a huge difference to that customer in real time. Because you can imagine the customer on the end of the phone. I can imagine my mum saying, but I just don't know how to do that. There is no way you could explain it over the phone. But actually giving a solution that connects far more to their natural system is just a clever way of thinking of it. And you hope then that next time that individual looks a little bit differently at what they can do to support a customer, because, again, you've all commented on the fact that all of them are different and bring different experiences and challenges with them. So if you think about challenges, and Lauren, I'm going to start with you on this one. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced when it comes to enhancing outcomes for the customer? Again, you're dealing with the pointy end within your environment, but how did you overcome some of those challenges? And I think similar to the example we just heard from Ben, it is, or I'm assuming it must be, that a lot of the time you have to look outside the box to solve some of the problems you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And one of the things I have seen over my tenure here is the process was the process. The most amazing thing, though, is that they recognised that we had to do something different. But there's obviously a lot more than just getting a group of people and putting them in a team and saying that's now what you do. We've had to do a lot of breaking down of some of the silos and the way things used to be done, and looking, staying ahead of legislation, news, trends in the marketplace. And also challenging some of the thinking. Traditionally there was, you need this, you go in that queue, you wait for that. So how do we get that done faster, better, different, quicker? And we've had a lot of investment in this area, and the team has grown significantly, and that has helped somewhat, but we've definitely got a long way to go to continue to influence that change. But it's been great to see the shift in the culture within the company as well, that they've recognised doing something differently. And we've already seen the waves of that going into other areas of the business as well, outside of just the claims area that we've been doing it in. But then probably our second challenge for me as a manager is that, as I said before, the wellbeing of the staff. So making sure that they're strong to look after the customers that they're looking after, and then looking for different ways to train, upskill, and identify those sort of psychosocial hazards and things like that.
Yeah, it's a really a really good point. It is a growing challenge. I'm assuming all of you have seen, really over the last 12 months, that increased awareness, number one, from organisations and managers on, this is something we really need to think differently about. But equally the impact on people, the increased levels of stress, increased environmental issues that actually affect your people personally, as well as the customers they're dealing with. So, there's this real need for leaders to think about how do you actually gain that balance. Beck, if I think about Honey, similarly to what Lauren's just talked about with challenges and thinking differently, Honey, I guess, has had the beauty, I guess, of being a bit of a startup and being able to do some of that thinking pre-launch almost, right? So before you started, there was a real mission, I guess, to be different and think differently. Lots of advantages with that. But if you now fast forward to where you are and, the growth that you've experienced, how do you ensure that continuous improvement and that, real sense of innovation and curiosity is still actually there and really pushing through to look even now, what's next? What else? What more could we do for the customer?
I think the good thing is it's really set from exec level. Like, one of our strategic objectives is to continue to deliver differentiated customer experiences. And we can't do that if we settle with what we have today. So we're constantly out scouting what's available. And there are times where we're talking to vendors and we have these grand plans or like massive outcomes that we're looking for. And we're challenging them to say, do you have a solution that can meet what we want? Because we don't want to do what everyone else does. So we're constantly talking to people to understand what's out there. And when it's not out there, well, then come back to us when you have it, because we want to make sure that we're doing better than the next person. I think the biggest thing that I always think about is from a commercial perspective, it is really important that you retain your customers, because it costs far less to retain your customers and then continue to grow than it does to always acquire new ones. So there has to be that continued investment in making things better. And so, with that in mind, we are just always trying to push the envelope. We started with our sensors and we're going to continue with our journeys that we're building out.
Yeah, you raise a really good point there around retaining customers. And again, Madeline, not it's not the same challenge that you face, but equally you're constantly looking for ways to enhance the experience that they have. Can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the difference there? We've got these guys from insurance and banking, etc., where customer choice really drives some different things. You have to think about, how are we innovating? How are we creating a point of difference? Whereas for you at City of Stirling, it's a big council in WA, with lots of innovative thinking, I know, that goes on there, really focused on the customer experience. But it's a bit of a different lens, isn't it? So how do you contribute and influence some of that change to the customer experience when customer choice is a different kettle of fish?
Well, I think Lauren and I are probably a kindred spirits in a few ways, because the city for a long time, I think, was very stuck in that mindset of this is the way we've done it, so let's keep doing it that way. And it's one of my most hated statements because they're just not justifiable. It's not data driven, and there's so much opportunity for us to be better. And the City of Stirling's motto is to be a city of choice. Now, obviously, in comparison to choosing products, you're right, it is different, but people can still choose how they engage with us. And some people might only engage with us just to tell us, oh, my bin's been missed. But if we can encourage customers to come to the events that we run, to be active participants, we really get their feedback as well, and we can really improve in a lot of spaces. But in addition, something that we really do to drive change here is that we've turned each of our CXOs into basically, 50 service improvement gurus, because we took what was developing into change fatigue because there was so much movement and adjustment that needed to occur, and we've driven that now into making them active participants in the betterment of the services that we provide. So they provide us tons of feedback on what they think that could be better, and we've really opened the channels to make them really active and empowered to see that improvement. So instead of seeing that, let's do one big change to fix this one big problem that's just been brought to us because a councillor's come down, we're now ahead of the 8 ball in that when we start to hear those customer grumblings, our CXOs are ready and willing to put in the work, and not only just to put forward the change, but activate it when it comes through. So you're right, it is a little bit different. We don't see the same kind of customer trends where you might see customers drop off, but we still have absolutely some fantastic ways to get that information through. And when people have to engage with you, you're going to get a lot more really valuable feedback, I think.
I love that. And I love the whole concept that says our CXOs actually are the ones that first see the problem. So actually, let's create the environment where they feel super empowered to contribute to the solution. And you're right, whilst it's different, the customer base is different, the importance of their involvement and how they interact. So I think you explain that really nicely, because they all have to interact, but they can choose how effectively they do it. And equally, it's so much easier for you as an organisation, I'm sure, if your customers are actually enjoying the engagement. Again, they don't do it unless they have to, so let's kind of limit that where we can. But actually, you want the engagement to be positive. You want it to be that it shows them other opportunities to be involved within community. So almost the way you talk about it, it's like you're building the culture of the community as well as the culture within your organisation, which is a really nice sort of nexus or connection with what you're doing. I love that. So if Lawrence has just put a comment here supporting both of those things. It is what it is, saying that that's the absolute worst expression. I would totally agree with you. Ben, do you see a lot of opportunity to contribute to improvement ideas in your environment? I know, and I've got to call out, every single one of you are part of an organisation that we see constantly investing in innovation, constantly investing in making sure people are skilled, supported, empowered. So am I surprised that the organisations reflected here today actually take out this category? I'm not at all. Because actually we see it constantly that your organisation builds the right environment where customer is at the heart, but equally where all of the employees are encouraged and challenged to identify ways to make it better. So that's awesome for us as an industry. I love seeing that. But Ben, do you see, those opportunities, and do you, actively kind of promote ways to change things for your customers?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that comment about, it is what it is. It really is one of the worst expressions, and I even used it in my speech because I feel like the company that I'm in with Allianz and with the team that I'm in and my managers, like I've always said, it is what it is just not in anyone's vocabulary here. And, and they definitely are the company that listen to the people on the front line. I've managed to make a few changes just in the role that I am. I think one of the toughest calls to receive is when someone calls to advise that a customer's passed away. Obviously, we have a process in relation to that and what happens to their policies and how we have to transfer it into a deceased estate. And there was, because we're the department that receive documents to get that whole process going. There was sort of an issue where in the call center, some sort of misinformation was given, and then we would have to unfortunately be like, so sorry, you've been misinformed. And I was able to locate where exactly in the resource library, people are still using the resource library and following the right steps, but there was this one little step in there that was a little bit not very clear, and it could easily be open to misinterpretation. And we figured out that's where the issue was. And, through my investigation and understanding, we actually got that resource library updated, and we saw a massive reduction in the misinformation that was happening. And so it was really, I don't know what other companies are like, but it can be really hard just to get a resource library updated. So many people have to sign off on it and agree to it. And, it was amazing to see that, because I picked up on this in the guide and said, hey, I think this is where everyone's getting going wrong here. I think maybe we should update this. And it was. And saw a massive decrease in, the complaints that were happening as a result. And obviously, when someone passes away, it's stressful and you're grieving. The last thing you want to be told is like the wrong thing, and then you talk to another department and they tell you. And it was really rewarding to be able to sort of fix that, and especially as just a frontline agent, getting that resolution is really amazing.
You've got to remove that word from your vocabulary, the just
Yes,
part, because you are not
yes.
just a frontline agent. I always say, heart and soul of any organisation, you are the listening ears and post that provides insights into the next opportunity. So I don't want to hear that one again.
No, sorry.
No,
I said that in my speech as well. I need to stop saying just.
Yeah. And the reality is that, again, it's about what you learn and how you do it that actually creates all of the opportunity for organizations to then adjust that customer service and deliver real customer excellence. I love it. Someone here's got a comment, Alex, just for you, Ben. It's about, great work, having that care and ownership lead to such a difficult experience. And it's true. I know a number of organisations, and deceased estates are always one of those processes that I don't know why, but there's, multiple errors within the step. It's quite complex, particularly comes with some of the legislative requirements with deceased estates. But it's one of the toughest times your customers will go through for sure. Laura, if you think about your environment, same deal. Do you get the opportunity to participate or contribute to some of those change ideas and innovation, through innovation, etc., within the environment?
Yeah, I do, slightly in kind of different ways. So I also deal with kind of the processes as well, and look at certain processes and where things are going wrong. But I can also, I had an opportunity to do some like step up opportunities, so some leading, which I absolutely loved. And I was listening to some people's calls, and I could kind of overhear that empathy wasn't kind of being demonstrated to customers as much as I believe it could have. And what I actually did was I actually organised to have one-on-one coachings with everyone and go through their calls, their own personal calls, of course, and kind of let them listen to it and made them kind of put themselves in the customer's shoes and kind of went, how do you think you would feel as a customer? Say, for example, if your card wasn't working, your mobile app wasn't working, internet banking wasn't working, you can't access your funds, you've called the bank, and this is the kind of call that they've had. How do you think you would feel? And sometimes they've gone, I actually wouldn't be happy. I'd want them to kind of listen more or kind of demonstrate a bit more empathy. And I'm like, yep, great. They kind of understood why we're having this coaching session. And then I kind of ask them, how do you think we could demonstrate empathy a little bit more? Or what do you think empathy could look like? And it actually got them questioning and thinking. And as of since, I've had consultants come up to me and they still say to me, look, I remember that one coaching session we had and we discussed empathy. And ever since I make an effort on every single call to demonstrate empathy. And I think overall, we want empathy. We want people to hear our issue. We want people to understand our frustration. Yes, technology can be frustrating. I understand it. We all understand it. We all live with technology. But, I think it just improves customer experience overall and empowers agents. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. And for anyone that heard our session yesterday, we talked a lot about, some of the control techniques within those interactions with customers and the ability to, stop going down that loop if you acknowledge. So yeah, some great insights there. I'm going to ask all of you this question. I want to know what you think your superpower is when it comes to championing for the customer. And Beck, I'm starting with you because you're on the left hand of my screen. What is your superpower that means you get on with this? And it might be something that you are just, like a dog with a bone, something. What's your superpower?
I think that's probably it. I'm quite annoying. I'm quite persuasive. I can, I don't know, growing up, I was always told I should be a lawyer because I can make a case for anything as long as it suits me. And since the customer is my primary priority, most people find it challenging to argue with a suggestion that I'm putting forward. So that's probably my superpower.
Love that. What about you, Lauren? What's your superpower?
I would say, and I've heard this from a few people, that I'm a balanced person. So I have a good approach to thinking about the people that are in the organization and how we can make them better, the customers and how we can improve, but then also still keeping in mind that we've got a business and a product and that we have to uphold. So I'd say that, yeah, balanced is my power.
I love that. And you're right, because of course we have to manage and look after those customer care and provide customer excellence. You've still got a business to run, right? You've still got to actually deliver and perform in line with what organizational requirements you have. So balance is a really good one. Madeline, what about you? Superpower?
I think I'd have to say creativity. I'm not afraid to get weird with stuff. I live outside of the box. If I can figure out a different way to do something, I'm going to do it. And it means that I don't think I get limited and stuck in those same old patterns. So yeah, I think that's what it would be.
I love creativity. I think that's awesome. Curiosity and creativity are my two favorite words. Laura, what's your superpower?
I would say probably just pushing through. I think, like, always being with the customer throughout the entire journey. If there's an issue, ensuring I get to the bottom of the resolution, even though it may take weeks. And yes, sometimes things take weeks, but ensuring communication. I'll say communication probably. Communication.
You're allowed
listening.
to have more than one.
Yeah. I just think overall, just being with the customer, hearing them and making sure I actually get the resolution. I don't just palm it off to another person or another team or get them to call back another time. I'm ensuring that I'm the person to help them and push through.
Hold it on. Yep, I love that. Benjamin, what is your superpower?
I don't know what we call it. I'd say patience, but almost like a patience shield. Like I just have this capacity to remain calm and composed, even in like challenging interactions. I'm really good at, sort of de-escalating tension and fostering a positive experience. People sort of listen to my calls all day, and like all day you just seem like really calm and pleasant when you're like talking to people. Like even if they're not particularly being pleasant with me, I think never emotionally react or match their energy or anything. And even when people are, being emotional, like you never take it personally. You never really, you might think, oh, this issue isn't all that bad, but you never know what's going on in someone's personal life. This could have just been like the feather that's broken the back type thing. And I always sort of keep that in the back of my mind, remain calm. And even though I'm in Aries, we're not meant to be patient apparently, but I think I'm the exception to the rule. People always say I have the patience of the saints, even in my personal life, dealing with my partner and stuff. But yeah, my patience shield, I would say.
I think that is an incredibly underrated superpower, personally. I think they always say it's the ability to let things go through you without holding onto them, sort of just let it go. But it definitely is a superpower. But it's also something that has an amazing calming effect on others around you. We would all be able to recall situations where you see people get all fired up and then you see others kind of join in. It's amazing the difference it makes. And there's a comment here that says it's that Jedi Zen mode. I totally agree with that. It is about, just thinking logically, not creating the fight or flight or, the crazy in your brain. It lets you access the information you need to solve the problem. So I love that. I've loved all of those superpowers, and you know, again, hearing today about the different things you're doing and your different roles, um, you know, we clearly can see why each one of you were called out for being that customer champion that really focus on ways to not just enhance the experience, but actually make it so it's good for the next person as well, who might have to go through same or similar circumstances. So I'm going to finish with one question for all of you. What's next? What's next for you guys? Like, what happens next? And Beck, hate to say it, but you are on the left side of my screen, and I do
You're
clockwise
picking
think,
me a little bit, Fran.
Aw.
No, I think just continue doing what we're doing, continue to champion our customers, continue to think the way that we're thinking, and you know, push limits. I think we just have to keep that same tenacity to keep going.
Love that. Pushing limits from Beck. Lauren?
We probably just need to stay ahead of the curve in terms of vulnerability and how we can do better.
Love that. Madeline?
Ooh, data-driven quality.
Oh, like that. Very good. Laura?
I would say empowering our consultants to, provide better customer experience to customers.
It's amazing what permission does to people, isn't it? When you empower people, they feel like they can do anything. So love that. And Ben, last but certainly not least.
Yeah, well, on a personal level, I did have an interview on Wednesday for a quality assurance position, and so I do find out on Monday whether or not I have got it or not. So it did go really well, so fingers crossed for me. But yeah, I guess the next step is to, as I said, help cultivate future customer experience champions, and hopefully they'll be in this panel next year or something.
I love that. Ben, good luck. You've now got a whole lot of people who are hoping that you are successful in that role. For me, I could think of nothing more valuable than someone with your aptitude, but equally your presence and you know, that calm nature actually supporting others to be amazing. So we've all got everything crossed for
Thank
you.
you.
And you might get a
Thank you.
few messages on next week asking if you were successful.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining me today. I know sometimes it's a bit daunting when you suddenly get some email saying, "Hey, would you come and be on a webinar?" But we were so lucky to get to see the insights that you shared about what you do and how you do it, and the difference it's making, not just for your organization, but for your customers and the broader industry in general. You are what actually help us make this industry not seen in that same light. Like, I hate that we get such a bad rap in the contact center and CX industry. And I think each and every one of you are making such a difference in helping us not just demystify and increase the visibility of how great working here in the industry can be, but actually making a real difference for your organization as well. So keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to seeing all of you in November. And yeah, good luck, Ben. Thanks, guys. Hope everybody has enjoyed it. We've got lots of comments in the slide there saying how awesome you've all been. So keep it going, guys. You're making a real difference right across the board. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.